Hey, just on an ending note, I know there's a lot of history between Devin and Rolly. Seeing the way Rolly performed, what was your assessment of what he showed in the ring, and where does he go from here?
Hey, Rolly, if you want to park Devin's 4x4 or the Wraith, the Phantom, or the Virgil, you can get a job over here. You know, while you moonlight as the stripper that you started out as. Have a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Roll the Tape film crew. I'll be the first one to say it. Probably won't be the last. But what you just heard greatly disturbed me. In an interview conducted by Fight Hub TV, the father of Devin Haney, Bill Haney, just said those words about Rolly Romero. And it greatly disturbed me because if you haven't heard me say this before, I'm going to go on record and say it again and again and again. Every professional boxer deserves two things: respect and credit. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Every professional boxer deserves two things: respect and credit. And the reason why they deserve respect and credit, amongst other reasons, is because it takes a special person, male and or female, to go through the humbling process to decide within themselves to not only compete as an amateur, but also to go through the process of competing as a professional boxer. There is no other profession on earth like being a professional boxer. Boxing in itself has its own category when we talk about professional sports. And I'm not here to make comparison. The point that I'm making is it takes a special person, male and or female, to decide to become a professional boxer. And then on top of all of that, to compete in the rankings, irregardless of their record. Win, lose, or draw, every boxer deserves respect and credit. You win some, you lose some, and you may even draw some. But at the end of the work week, every boxer deserves respect and credit. That's what I want everybody to get out of this message that I'm going to talk about today. Because the things that I heard Bill Haney say regarding Rolly Romero, it disturbed me. Being in the business, representing the amateur boxing program, seeing the process from amateur rankings to the professional rankings with these fighters, the sacrifices that they make day in and day out. Some make more sacrifices than others. Some are more committed than others. But the bottom line is it takes a special person, male and or female, to decide to compete in the professional rankings as a professional boxer. So that's the main reason why what Bill Haney said disturbed me in this recent interview with Fight Hub TV. Disturbed me. If this was anybody else, I'd be saying the same thing. Don't matter who it is, I'd be saying the same thing. So I wanted to say that for the people in the back. Because I know there's going to be people that say I'm hating. And how I know that? Because every time I talk about specific fighters and specific other people in the business and sport of boxing, that's the response I get from people that don't agree with me. And that's okay too. Being a professional boxer takes humility. And what I heard Bill Haney say regarding Rolly Romero had nothing to do with humility. And when I say humility, I am not talking about humiliation. There's a difference. What Bill Haney was talking about with regards to Rolly Romero, that was a form of humiliation. What I'm talking about is humility. So for Bill Haney to tell Rolly Romero, because he lost in the ring against a more technically sound fighter in Pitbull Cruz, and of course he lost his titles, to come and be a valet, to park the expensive cars and motor vehicles of his son, Devin Haney, it was totally distasteful. And I have to put this in there because this is as equally as important. We have not heard or seen Bill Haney put on a pair of boxing gloves and throw one punch yet. So for a person who has never been probably I don't think he's been an amateur. He may have. I'm talking about amateur boxer. He may have. But what I'm saying is, we know he's not a professional boxer and never been one. And to say that about a professional boxer who lost, and not only lost his titles, but also lost in the ring, why? Now, if this was a press conference and Rolly was fighting his son, and both fighters were jabbing at each other because they were preparing to fight each other, some of these things happen at press conferences to promote the fight. But when none of that is a part of this interview, none of those elements are involved with Rolly fighting Devin right now, what we talking about? No professional fighter have to park nobody's car or valet nobody's car. They deserve two things: whether they win, whether they lose, or whether it's a draw: respect and credit, especially from people who has never done it before as an amateur or as a professional, period. Very distasteful. And it shows the pride and lack of humility. And the sport of boxing is about humility and not humiliation. And I'm standing on that. Those words from Bill Haney were extremely distasteful and unnecessary. And in closing, I say this, and this is not a knock on the interviewer from Fight Hub TV, but we have to do better as quote unquote broadcast journalists. And I've been saying this and I'm going to say it again. We have to start asking the right people the right questions if we want the right results. Bill Haney is in no position to answer a question of what should happen in Rolly's career next. He's not his trainer. He's not his promoter. He's not his manager. You see my point, y'all? I'm not hating on nobody. I'm just keeping it all the way 100 and real and honest, like I always do. Let's start holding each other accountable, because at the end of the day, that question was asked and Bill Haney still never answered it. Why? Because he's not qualified to answer that question. So that's not a knock on Bill, but the things that Bill said is a knock on him. And let me leave y'all with this principle of the premise of why I'm saying what I'm saying. There's a scripture that says these words: it's not what goes in your mouth that defiles you as a person. It's what comes out of your mouth that defiles you as a person. Because the things that come out of our mouths are directly from what's in our hearts. You know what? I'm doing way too much talking. Don't take my word for it. Roll the tape.